Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am O'Brien McMahon, and this is People Business. In this episode, I am joined by Mary Nestor. Mary has been speaking out all her life, whether in person, print, social media, TV, podcasts, or from the podium as an international award-winning speaker, consultant, trainer, and coach. She shares her own journey and experiences that formed the three principles of honest, timely, and heart-motivating communications to deal with life's tough situations, and how to apply them to solve problems, heal relationships, and reduce stress. We talk a lot in this conversation about her book, Say It Now, Say It Right, How to Handle Tough and Tender Conversations. And I brought her on the show because we can always be better at having tough conversations. And she has some great stories from her life in times that she spoke up, times that she didn't speak up, and lessons that she learned along the way, and how to really speak up in a way so that you are heard rather than just trying to make noise, or rather than keeping quiet just to be nice, really finding that balance of owning your voice and finding the right ways to communicate, no matter how difficult the situation might be. I hope you enjoy. I think this is a helpful life skill for everybody that just we can always keep working on. Here is Mary Nestor. Mary, welcome to the show. I always enjoy conversations around difficult conversations and how we do that better because it's so darn uncomfortable for all of us. Excited to have you on and dive into your book, Say It Now.
Thank you so much, O'Brien. It's wonderful to be here. We appreciate the opportunity.
So we will unpack this Say It Now philosophy and what this all means. And that's what we'll spend the next hour or so talking about. But Curious what the backstory is. Like, how did you come up with the philosophy in the first place?
Good question. I come from a large family. I have 4 sisters and a brother, and I was the youngest. And in our family, the unwritten code was just keep your mouth shut. Don't complain, don't ask questions. Nobody really talked to each other about anything. And I was the youngest. I guess nobody wanted to talk to me, but my sister said the same thing. It's like, we just really didn't discuss anything. And so I really didn't have that kind of a model of how to have conversations and build relationships and disagree or take that chance to say what you wanted to say. So I just really kept my mouth shut at home. And so later on, when I started my career and I started working with other people, I really didn't have the skill set of leadership or managing, because the only thing I knew that was something that I learned was rules. I knew lots of rules. And from my background, my parents had lots of rules, and you just follow the rules and be quiet. So I took that as my management style, which didn't really go over too well. But I had,
Can't you just all do what I say?
Really? That's so easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought I was doing a bang up job, and I was a supervisor in the benefits department at Marriott. And I had 6 people that reported to me, and it was very busy and stressed out. And so I thought I was doing fine. And one day my boss, she asked me to come into her office because she wanted to talk to me, and sat me down. And she said, Mary, so I have to tell you something. She says, Mary, people don't like you. They don't want to work with you. They're afraid of you. You're always watching them. You're always micromanaging. You're always telling them what they have to do. And then looking for things. They feel like you're looking for things that they're doing wrong. And I was dumbstruck. I couldn't believe it. I had no idea. I thought I was just the best, sweetest manager in the world. And that was a hard thing for me to hear, but it was the best thing that my manager could have ever done, because I was totally unaware of how I was coming across. And it was really hurting me personally, professionally. And she could have fired me, but she didn't. She must have seen something in me that was worthwhile, that she said, we can work with you. And she did. And she gave me opportunities that helped me to learn how to deal with people and to be a better communicator. And so that was my aha moment. That was the first thing. The second one was not too long after that. She gave me some opportunities to give presentations because I wanted to be a trainer. I was going to give a presentation to all of the managers. And it was right after lunch. So I went in a room full of people and they were all smiling and I'm doing my presentation and they're laughing and joking and just really eyes all on me. And I came back afterwards and I felt really good. So I went in the ladies' room, just freshen up. And I went like this in the mirror and there was a big piece of broccoli stuck in my tooth. And
like a bad movie scene.
It was awful. I was like, you look and say, am I really seeing this? I was horrified. So I went back and I found my assistant and I said, I can't believe it. I gave the whole presentation. No wonder they were smiling at me. They're probably like, oh, look at her. So she said, it's still there. And I said, what? You knew that it was there and you didn't say anything? She says, oh, I just thought it would fall out and I don't feel comfortable saying anything personal. And I just couldn't believe it. All you have to do is tell me something, even if it's uncomfortable. But I'm not aware. Again, most people are not aware of they're walking around with broccoli in their teeth. They just don't know it. And later on, I was in HR and people were just miserable with their bosses. And finally, I think all of those experiences and just day to day, just seeing how many times there are opportunities like that.
Yeah. All right, a couple things out of that. So let's rewind that and we'll go through it. First one, families.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us come from families, and maybe it was just the times, maybe it's different now, but I think there are a lot of families out there that just didn't talk about a lot of things or don't talk about a lot of things or, oh, we don't talk about that or, we talk about it here, but we don't talk about it out there. Like there's a lot of that too, just keeping conversations quiet and stifled. Like what's a better way to be doing that?
Wow. To take your opportunity. In the book, I talk about a lot about motive. If you love someone, in families, you care about people and you want them to be their best. I have a funny one. So I don't know, it was 13 or so, and I got my first bra. But nobody talked about anything. It just appeared on the.
That's a big moment. You would think there'd be some conversation.
Yes. Yeah. So my girlfriend Carol, she said to me one day, she goes, Mary, you're supposed to adjust those straps. See, I just put it on and I didn't have any idea how it worked. And people assume that you know things and you don't. And how long did I go around? I'm only 13. That's a very clear example about how you don't talk about, we didn't talk about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the better way to do that is to say, hey, I want to say something to you. Or family with parents, that's how you develop relationships of trust.
Yeah.
When you can take somebody aside and say, hey, this is how you work this. Let me show you how. So that then you go out and out in the world. Anything with kids have so many beginning moments, so many first experiences. Yeah. And if they have someone that can help them through that or just give them a little bit of advice, this is how it goes, to keep them from making those mistakes, from making those, I hate to say mistakes, but I like choices better than mistakes.
Well, mistakes, also just ignorance, just walking around in ignorance. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we build that courage in ourselves? Because that's what it is. Right? It's the courage because it's uncomfortable to bring some of that stuff up. Right? Whoa, I don't want to talk to my daughter about her need for a bra. I mean, you just think about the birds and the bees conversation, and that thing has been spoofed and joked about all over the place, right? Cool. And we all have cringy experiences with that. But like, there's also an element where it's like, it's the human thing. We all do it. So like, why can't we talk about it? And yet there's part of us that just is like uncomfortable with these things. Is it just have courage and have the conversation? That doesn't feel productive. It feels like maybe there's a better story we can tell ourselves around these conversations that would help us just not even have to need courage, just to make it more of a non-issue. Do you have any framework that you help people reset?
Yeah, in the book, in the later chapters, I have just a short 4 questions and to ask yourself about different, because I talk about different situations with parents and spouses and coworkers and bosses, etc. And one of the things is to go through, say you have a situation that you need to talk to somebody about. Look at the risks and the rewards. That's what I say, is that, so the risk is they may not like you or they may reject you, or you're not invited anymore, or you're not part of the team anymore. But the other risk is the stress and the damage you do to yourself, because you're the one who's awake at night worrying about all of this. You're the one who walks in a room and that person is there and you're uncomfortable. I said they have probably no idea what's going on in your head. So that's the risk, but the reward on the other side. Think about yourself when you've had this conversation and it's resolved, or at least it's it's no longer a burden.
Yeah.
Because you can say it in the right way at the right timing, but if your motive is not right, that can hurt you. But you have to be able to, I think one of the other things too is to let go of expectations of results. I say that when I sign my books, find your voice, take a risk, and speak your truth. Each one of us can say what is in our heart. I can say what I feel, and what I think is important. It happened. It's a situation just today. I was in a Zoom meeting on a board meeting, and I was asking questions, and this woman just started talking right on top of me and cutting me off. And I just kept saying, I said, I haven't finished yet. I was a little bit assertive. Now that's taking a risk because you don't know how the rest of the group is going to be like. But you have to let go of that. I think you need to measure the risks and the rewards. And the rewards can be so much better. It might not be the right time, but take a look at the risks and the rewards and speak your truth. Say, come from your position, because nobody can fault you for that.
Yeah. Oh, so we've talked about you having this philosophy. Can you define what the Say It Now philosophy actually is?
It's to say what you need to say in either tough conversations or tender conversations. Sometimes we don't express appreciation or tell people we love them or we care about them. Maybe that's a tougher conversation. But in order, with the right way and the right timing, in order to build people up, in order to reduce your own stress, in order to be more comfortable in this world and to build trust with other people. Companies need to create an atmosphere where employees feel comfortable and safe, where I can say something coming from my point of view to my boss or a coworker and not be afraid that you're going to talk about me later on, or I'm going to get demoted, or I don't get the promotion. You have to have that kind of a atmosphere. I think families...
psychological safety. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, as a child, I didn't feel safe bringing up a lot of things because it was going to be, be quiet. We don't talk about that. But you have to develop that. And I think that's what Say It Now, Say It Right is all about, is developing this culture, where you build trust and respect for each other by speaking what your truth is.
And it's probably a cliche. I don't even know if we need to go into it, but maybe we do. The concept of being nice isn't actually being nice. Can you talk to what it means to be nice in the right way versus the wrong way?
The nice would be my assistant to tell me, hey, you've got a piece of broccoli in your tooth before you go. That's the nice thing to do. And it's nice, with mothers. I just gave a presentation to a technical college about this whole situation. And being nice is not just don't say anything. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Nice is what would be beneficial for another person, creating that atmosphere, modeling the kind of behavior that you want from others and that you expect for yourself. That's what's nice. We have to be nice to ourselves. And many times we will put everybody else ahead. And one of them is putting off those conversations.
Yeah.
And what we're really not being very nice to ourselves, because we are just perpetuating this thing that's hanging out there.
Yeah. Well, I think push back on that idea a little bit. I don't hear you saying this, but I think there's an element too where we might want to be nice to ourselves and not get into conflict. And I think that's not a good reason not to have the conversation either. Like, it's not so much about, well, I wouldn't want somebody to say that to me because it would hurt my feelings. And it's not about your feelings. It's about your performance, your ability to achieve what you want to achieve, becoming a better person, having better relationships. Like, it's about better outcomes. It's not about feelings at all.
Yeah.
So let's get into some of the specifics of this, when we want to have tough conversations.
Okay.
We've built up the courage to do that. Is there a good way to enter that? Is it better to just walk up and hit him in the face with it? Or should we ask permission? Or does asking permission make it awkward? So what's the right entree to setting this up?
Yeah, there's several different situations. So if you're out somewhere and you're drinking too much and these guys want to go drive, then you grab the keys and say, you're too drunk. You're not going to drive. That's a now. That's a say it now, because the situation is such that it could be dangerous for you or for somebody else. And opportunities will present themselves that it'll be a natural thing to be able to bring up a situation. And asking permission is a very good way to do it. I took the Dale Carnegie course years ago, and I had a great instructor, and he had a really nice way of giving feedback. And so he would say something like, oh, I really liked your hand gestures, and I like the way you presented this. And he would always say, if I can tell you a way to do it even better, would you be interested? The answer to that is what?
Of course.
Of course. So that's a way of asking permission. The way I have in the book is there's been something on my mind that has really been bothering me. And it has to do with our working relationship or what's happening in meetings. Can we talk about that? They may say yes and they may say no. They say, I don't want to talk about that, or this isn't a good time. And you have to respect the answer. But you can always say, this is something it's really important to me. Can we make a time to talk?
There's like a 201 or a 301 level to that, which is most people will say yes, but you can tell in the way they say yes whether they're really ready for it or not.
Right.
And I think there's like another deeper skill level where when somebody goes, yeah, sure. You're like, look, I want to talk about it at some point, but it doesn't need to be right now. What would be the better time? And then maybe no, let's talk about it right now. And you go, okay, great. But sometimes they might be like, oh, this other time. So I think there's an ability to read the other person a little bit. And you don't want to just, hey, can I tell you this? Yeah, sure. All right, here's what you screwed up. There is a little bit of nuance to that too, right?
Exactly.
Maybe that's a no-duh. But.
Yeah. And that kind of brings up the three different keys to effective communication. Saying it now, say it. And the first one is timing. We talked a little bit about that, finding the right time. And what you just talked about was saying it right. It's body language, it's tone of voice. And you just demonstrated it beautifully because you said, I want to talk to you about something. And I want to talk about it right now. And they go, no, I don't want to. I think it's time. That's so totally wrong.
You're already tanked.
Yeah. And you need to talk about what you want to talk to this person about is not them personally, how they're a jerk or how they're ruining your life or etc. You want to talk about the situation. Talk about, you're not saying blame, because as soon as you say you, or you start talking about you did this and you did that and blah, 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 all they're going to do is shut down because that's criticism. I'm not sharing something about your performance or how you treat me or our relationship. I'm telling you, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. There's judgment in it. Yeah,
exactly. There's judgment. And so nobody's going to listen to you that way. So you always talk about in a work situation, talk about performance. Don't talk about the person. Don't make it personal.
What would an example of that be? Like, how have you had one or coached somebody through one that maybe was a little sensitive where they were able to direct back to performance?
Oh gosh, there's so many. There's one that I think that I can speak to, asking permission. And this was with my boss when I was with the Telfair Museums. I was the HR director. And my boss had a big office and he had a big desk with a big leather chair. When you would go into his office to talk, you would have to stand there because he did not have any chairs in his office, right in front of his desk. And he did it on purpose because he didn't want people coming and camping out. And we used to actually teach that in time management. Don't put any chairs in there because you'll never get anything done. So I would go in there and talk to him. We had an issue to talk about. And even if it went 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I'm still standing there. And I thought that was so rude. And the first thoughts are not always how I'm going to say this nicely. It's what a jerk. Can't you tell that I'm standing here like I'm your subject and you're in your big chair link? It's all this body language stuff is going on. And I needed to talk. It was really bothered me. Every time I would go in there, it really bothered me. And I got to tell him about this. But how do you do that? So one day he was in my office. We were talking about different things. And so there again, I was in my territory, not his. And of course, I have chairs in my office. So we were sitting down talking about things, probably an employee issue. And at the very end, he said, Mary, he says, is there anything else you need to talk about? Bing. There was the flashing lights. This was my opportunity. And I did. So I said, there's something that I really need that's been bothering me. And I really need to talk to you about it because it's getting in the way and it's on my mind all the time. I said, can I share that with you? And he said, sure. Okay. So I told him about it and I was very honest. Now, this is the other thing too. You need to be honest. Don't start fudging back and making it all, trying to soften everything down. You want to be diplomatic but you want to say what you need to say. And I did. I said, when I come in your office, just like I said, I said, I feel that it's very rude. I feel disrespected. And then the other thing you need to do is you need to ask for what kind of behavior or what kind of respect or kind of treatment do you expect? Because if not, all you're doing is complaining.
Yeah.
So I said to him, I said, a couple of minutes is fine. But if it goes on 5 minutes or so, can we go sit at the table? He had a little table with chairs around it. And he goes, sure. He didn't have any clue what was going on. And so then afterwards, of course, right then I felt better because I actually did it. When you finally do that, you're going to give yourself a little high five because you actually did it. That's how you build your confidence. That's how you're able to do it again. And so every time I would go in his office after that, he was very conscious. In fact, he'd say, hey, it's been a couple of minutes. Should we sit down?
That's great.
Funny. Yeah. So all of that combined, but it was the timing, it was the asking permission, it was how I said it.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, can we just sit down after a while? And he was very receptive.
Yeah. Well, and I heard you say, I feel this way when this thing happens versus being like, you're a jerk for doing this. It's not a criticism. It's a, hey, here's why this is impacting our relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard said too, don't ascribe to malice what could otherwise be explained by ignorance. I don't know whose quote that is, but I like it. I think about it a lot. Like anytime somebody comes to me and they're like, well, so-and-so's doing this. And I'm like, are they, or are they just not thinking about you? Which is probably the answer. I don't think they're trying to screw you over. I just think they don't think about you at all.
No.
And if you have a problem with it, go bring it to them.
Yeah. Most people don't. They're so busy thinking about themselves. They really are not. 95% of the time, they're thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
And they're clueless.
Yeah. I think it's just it's also a good setup for what you're talking about bringing these things up. Because if you think that somebody is doing something to you out of malice, then bringing it up to them is conflict, right? This person is actively trying to do this and I have to actively fight back against them versus going into it. I bet this person doesn't even know and I'm going to bring it to their attention. That's not conflict. That's just relationship building.
Yeah,
that's just having a conversation.
Yeah. I mean, you could even, maybe this is 3.0, but you could even say what somebody makes a snide comment about you. You could say was that meant to be an attack? Was that meant to be a put down? Or I heard that as a put down. Boom. Some people are snipers. They do know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they'll take their shots whenever they can. I work with people like that. I had a manager one time who loved to pit people against each other.
Ugh.
And one time he assigned myself and another manager a project both of us, without telling us. And nobody knew what was going on. I was trying to get support and he was getting support and we were without knowing anything. And he's sitting back somewhere just enjoying it.
Ugh.
There are people out there like that.
There are. No, for sure there are.
And you can ask a question. Asking questions is another good way because you're not you're not accusing anybody of anything, but you're asking that question. You have a right to ask a question. Yeah. And I said, it sounded to me like you were.
Yeah.
An attack.
I think one of these things can lead into the other, where if you approach it as if I'm going to bring this to this person's attention because I'm not going to assume that they're doing this out of malice. If you have that boss and you bring it to their attention and then they're like, oh no, I didn't know it. But then you see them still do it. Now they're gaslighting you. And we have another great episode on gaslighting from several weeks ago that we'll link in the show notes on what that does and how to avoid it. But we'll plug there. But the more you get better at this, the more you can recognize it where, okay, I'm going to approach it this way. And then I'm going to be aware that might not be true and they really might be a jerk. And then I'll be ready to react, but I'm not going to assume that from the beginning.
Yeah. I'm doing a series on LinkedIn called Real Talk at Work. And every week I have a new situation. And the one that I just did this week was about employees who maybe they're irritable or they're just not themselves anymore, they're not paying attention, or they seem to be slacking off. But nobody knows what people bring to work with them. You know, we can assume from the outside to say, oh, you're really not with it today, or you're holding back, or you're missing deadlines and all that. But maybe they're dealing with some really serious situations. And you have to have some kind of some empathy and understand that not everything we make judgments about people. And again, that then had nothing to do with you or the situation. It has to do with them and what they're dealing with.
Yeah. What do we do with those people who really internalize any kind of feedback as a personal criticism and struggle? Like, I know people who, anytime you bring some form of criticism forward, there's oh, I must be the worst, whatever. Like, they throw up these big statements, or it's all or nothing. I don't always do that. No, you don't always do it. Like, we have this tendency to sort of like lash out or lash back or catastrophize. And it can be very tricky if we're not skilled at this type of thing to know what to do when the person does that. Okay, no, you were right. Or then we get triggered too and we fight back. And obviously both of those aren't good. What's the right way to get a successful outcome with somebody who has those big reactions to even seemingly small criticisms?
Yeah. One of the ways is to, before you bring up the situation, is to say, if you know this person, and this is what they do all the time, you say, I need to talk to you about something. And I know that sometimes it's really, you blow things out of proportion or you take it too hard.
What do you mean I take it too hard, Mary? What do you mean? What do I take too hard?
I just see that you react very quickly. So I'm going to ask you to do, okay, O'Brien, what I want you to do, I'm going to say something. I need to share something with you. And I want you to wait until I'm finished before you say anything. Can you do that? Would that be okay?
I guess I could do that, Mary.
Every time I'm in a meeting with you, as soon as you start talking, that's not the way I'm going to say it, but this is the situation. So I say, when we go to meetings, I have a lot of things that I want to share, but it seems like when you start talking, you just keep going on and on. And by the time there's an opportunity, there's just no time left. Mm. And so sometimes I feel like I don't even need to be at the meeting. And I'll be honest with you, I just don't know how we can handle this. It's been tough for me to even say this to you. But I really would like your help to see how, because it's really impacting me.
Well done.
Yeah, it's nothing about...
Should write a book on this.
I should write another book on this. But yeah, you can always say what you have to say and ask people for help. It's bothering me.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I asked you for permission to be quiet, for you to be quiet and listen to me.
The other thing you did that I really liked, and I found that this helps too, if you're feeling uncomfortable, say you're uncomfortable. Just articulating that to somebody else, there's like it makes it a human interaction where it's like, hey, I have something I want to share with you, but I'm a little nervous to share because I don't know how you're going to take it. And I just feel like I got to tell you. And somebody's like, geez, what is this going to be? Like you're almost curious and you're like, I mean, how bad of a reaction do they think I'm going to give? It almost like sort of sets them up to want to react better because they don't want you to be nervous around them. And so I've often coached people when they're like, well, I would be nervous to say that. I'm like, well, lead with that. And it almost always goes better.
I used to say, my daughter, she's in the book, she was our challenge child. It was during the black period. She wore black clothes and black lipstick and all that kind of stuff. And I tried to be, nice about it. And she's growing up or whatever. But there were other situations where I would say, and there was something that I wanted to say to her. It was really bothering me. And so I would said to her, I'm going to say something to you. And I know you're not going to like it, but I have to say it for myself, because if I don't, then I am always going to regret that I didn't share this with you. So I've already set it up that I know you're not going to like me.
Yeah.
And I did, and I would. And it didn't mean that she was going to say, oh, mother, this is you're wonderful and I'll change forever. No, she still stormed out somewhere. I needed to say that. And I think there are situations in everybody's life when there is something they have to say, they have to share, and the other person is not going to like it.
Yeah. You can't live a healthy life without running into one of those, right?
Yeah. There's a chapter in the book called Say It Later and Count the Cost. And there's so many situations where it's waiting 6 months to tell somebody something serious. Then it's a gotcha. Then it's you don't care about me. I don't trust you. What else?
Problems usually don't get smaller over time either.
No, they don't. Yeah.
That snowball's not rolling uphill.
Yes. This also, it's not a one-way conversation. This starts the conversation, and maybe it doesn't go well the first time.
Tell me more about that.
If I said to you, Ryan, I need to talk to you about the thing and about the meeting, you might say, because you were quiet for the whole time, you say, okay, maybe I do talk a lot, but I don't see you putting your hand up a lot. You're very quiet in meetings, and sometimes I think that I need to talk so that there's some conversation going at all. See, I may not be aware of how I come up with this. And this is where you get a dialogue. This is where you have to start the conversation, because now I'm becoming more aware. So how can we work this together?
Yeah.
How can we have better? I didn't know that. I can give you okay, I'm going to look over at you. Say, this is you saying to me. I'm going to look over, and if you go, that's my cue to wind it down and give me an opportunity to say something. This is where it works together. This is how we learn how to respect each other and learn how to work together, to build each other up.
I think that is such a powerful point, because I think we've also all had experiences where somebody had no problem saying it now, right? Whatever they had to say, they said it, and it might have been valid, but they were not open to the counter back, right? They weren't open to even really solutions. They just wanted you to fix something. They didn't want to be part of the solution. They just wanted you to change. Right. And really where it gets better is when we're collaborating on that stuff.
Yes.
And so going into it, not with the mindset, I need to tell this person so they know, it's, hey, we need to have a dialogue about this so that we can improve this.
Exactly. And you're asking questions, and you're putting yourself open to get a response. Oh. And that's the other side. You have to learn how to be able to listen to what people have to say. And there's this thing in the book about just the listening. And my daughter went off, my lovely daughter, she fell in love and decided she was going to not go back to college and follow her boyfriend to California. So she did. And then after about 9 months or 10 months or so, it's too hard. This life is too hard. They never saw each other and all that kind of thing. I went, and in December, I flew to California, and then she was in San Francisco, and we drove cross country back to Georgia, almost the entire way across the United States to come home. And so on the way back, she had a Geo Metro convertible. You know how small those little things are. It was packed to gills. We could barely see it, like a little tiny spot to see out the back of the rearview mirror. And we're driving through the mountains. I think we're in New Mexico somewhere. And we're flying along at 80 miles an hour. And we hit a pothole. It was a big one. And boom. And the car just was fine, we thought. We were just driving along, and we're speeding along, and there was nobody on the road except for a semi truck every once in a while. This was the time when there was a fear of truck drivers. Say if they saw some women driving by themselves, they would say, hey, something's wrong, and get off, get you off the side of the road. So we're flying down the road, and there's this big truck comes up next to me, honking their horn and pointing and all the kind of thing. I'm going, oh my God, this is happening to us. Flying down, trying not to pay attention. And so I told my daughter, I said, we're going to get off the next exit. We're hoping that we could get off. And so we got off at the next exit, and he keeps going. And as soon as we slowed down, it was ka-clunk, ka-clunk. When we hit that pothole about 40 miles back. My tire was shredded. We could have been killed. And yet this poor guy, because of something out there, he was trying to tell me something that could save my life. And I didn't want to, I couldn't listen to him. And there's situations like that. But we have to be able to listen. And so people have asked me this, what if my manager, that situation, what if she said what she said to me, and I got up in a huff and said, you're wrong. I don't know what you're talking about. That's the other side of it too.
Yeah. Probably wouldn't have kept that job for you the way she did. Yeah.
Right. And she has been a friend and a coach and a mentor all these years. In fact, she introduced me to the publisher of my novel that I just published. We are still close. I owe her. It was a huge aha. It was a turning point in my life. It was that lights went on. Oh my gosh.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What about the medium? We haven't really talked about that. We've been talking about conversations, and maybe the answer is the right medium is always a conversation. But so much of our world is communicated now via text. There's even, you could send a text, you could send a video, you could send a voice memo. Is there ever a place for that? Is there like a threshold where that's okay? Or is it always better to do it live?
I think to the introduction or setting something up, I think a text, you could say, hey, there's something I really want to talk to you about. Can you give me a buzz, or can we get together? It's too long for a text or something like that. But I think face-to-face is best. We don't have opportunity anymore as like we used to in a work situation where everybody's there every day, so that you have but we have FaceTime, and we've got Zoom. Anybody can set up a Zoom. It doesn't have to be a business thing.
Yep.
But with the conversations face-to-face, you've got body language, you've got tones of voice, you've got setting, and you can go back and forth. Texting is, after 6 texts, I'm burned out. It's just too long. Then you want to pick up the phone. On the phone, you have a voice, and you can, depending on your tone of voice, you can envision what you look like. But you don't really have that nuance.
Yeah.
And so I think for the real conversation, when you really get down to the situation and what you want to say and the results, or maybe the behavior change or something like that, that's best when you are able to see somebody. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many others. And you phone people, they don't have a lot of a text or a phone conversation or something. Doesn't have the weight that somebody sitting in front of you has. This is it's a situation that I feel is important enough, and you're important enough.
Yeah. I was sitting on a plane next to this woman, and she was firing off text messages, and I just couldn't help myself. I kind of peeked over, and she had written this kind of like rant at this guy about how disrespectful he was and how terrible she felt. And I mean, it was like clearly her partner, boyfriend, husband, I don't know, whatever. I think it was a boyfriend. It was kind of clear that they weren't married, because I think she was saying something about it maybe being the end or something like that. But she was basically airing the grievances and this kind of feedback via text message. And I could see, and I was like, then I'm interested. And so I could see some of his responses coming back. And he was like, I'm sorry. I don't know what you're talking about. Like it wasn't clicking for him, or he was trying, I don't know if he was trying to maybe not take ownership over. I don't know what was happening, but they went back and forth for probably half the flight. I noticed that this was happening.
Oh my gosh.
And because you could get Wi-Fi. And so she was texting from the plane. And I wanted to just like put my hand on her shoulder and be like, just wait till we land and talk to him in person. Like whatever this is, it will be better if you just talk to them in person. And I think, unfortunately, because it's easy, you can just fire off whatever on your mind right then. And you don't have to wait. You don't have to have the patience. You don't have to think about it to articulate it. You don't have to edit it. Like you can just fire it off and hit send. And I don't think that is hardly ever the best way to do it.
Never. No, plus it's all recorded. So
well, that's the thing.
All that up again. But would you say those things if that person was standing in front of you?
Well, that's an
Would you be
interesting
that
stress
nasty?
test. Yeah.
Would you be? Yeah, and you probably won't. When you're angry, that is never the right time. If you're
No.
angry, you check your motives, got to be right before
Yeah.
you do this. And if you're just trying to like this guy pitting people against each other just so you get for entertainments, that is not the right thing to do. If you want to make the situation better, is it sending a barrage of nasty and insulting text messages, which somebody is then going to read over and over again and say, but you said this and you said that? That is, I don't know what you're setting yourself for disaster.
Yeah.
And most people, I wouldn't say most people, but when you've said something, have you ever said something and you wish you hadn't said it? Or I'll take it back. No, it's in the text. You've said it 6 times in this text message. I didn't mean it. So you didn't. So, you don't have that same feeling of really talking to another person on a text or on a,
You don't get to hear their tone, their body language. You can't see, are they really sorry or are they not? You can't feel that. There's a lot you can't communicate. They can't feel it from you, more importantly. Right. There's a great sketch I saw, or a comedian was doing a bit about advice he got from his dad, I think, when he was getting married. And the advice his dad gave him was always say the third thing. And he was like, what does that mean? I think he asked him, how did you have a successful marriage? He goes, I always said the third thing.
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean? And he said, whatever the first thing is that's going to come out of your mouth is not the right thing to say. You'll rethink it and you'll think it's better. It won't be. So ditch that one too. And then put it all aside and come up with the third thing to say. And that's usually the right thing to say. And I thought, while funny, that was also brilliant.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. So when you were talking about this barrage of messages, I wonder where he was. She's on a plane. What was he really? Sometimes people aren't even paying attention to text, and they go back and they look at it. They just throw something back out. It's not even real. We're not really engaged in this thing at the moment because I'm distracted and you're distracted and we're doing other things. And it's just not even a real conversation. It's just blowing
He was like,
off.
I just need this text chain to end. Like, I just got to get out of this.
He was probably throwing the phone down. Oh, there's another one. And then throw the phone down. Who knows? He could have been at a bar or something. Who knows what's going on? It's not that nobody's having a real conversation or getting anything done. Yeah. Wait until the plane lands and then find the right time to do it. Yeah. If you're angry, say, I'm so angry, I'm going to say the wrong thing. So I can't talk about this now. Yeah.
Let's talk about saying the wrong thing.
Okay.
That was one of my questions. What do we do when we say it wrong? Because we're going to. Like, let's face it. If we are interacting with other human beings in any capacity, we are going to say it wrong. Our emotions are going to get the best of us. It's going to come out in a way we didn't mean, or a way we did mean, and we just realized later we just shouldn't have said. What does good repair look like?
The first thing you can say is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I did that. I truly am sorry that I said that. In fact, one of the last chapters is all about that. And I think it's, does my butt look big in this pair of pants? And you go, yeah, it does. Oops, that's probably not what somebody wanted to hear. You can, if you say, I'm sorry, or because I was wrong, if you were wrong, you admit it. We all know when we've said the wrong thing. We all know in our heart of hearts. Mm-hmm. And say, I was wrong to say that. And I'm sorry that I offended you. Just fess up. But I think you have to do that. I think you have to say, especially say you have a situation where now every time you walk into the room or something, he will get up and leave, or they won't talk to you, or you're being shut out. And you can ask, I've seen this. I've seen you're avoiding me. That's the way I feel. Is that true? And you go, you know what? The last time you told me that, you said it in a way that really hurt my feelings. Say, I was not aware. Please accept my apology. That's what you can say. And open up the dialogue again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We watched Daniel Tiger in our house. I have 2 young boys. And the framework there was you first say, I'm sorry, and then you say, how can I help?
Yeah.
And I have found that is, in fact, a good framework to use. Thank you, Daniel Tiger. You can see it with kids, too. One son will do something that hurts the other one, either hurts his feelings or hurts him physically. And then he didn't mean to. And so he'll apologize, but you can tell that the apology alone isn't quite enough for the other one. But then when we prompt them to say, and what do you say next? How can I help? How can I make it better? Then the other one goes, well, you can never do that again. Okay, I'll never do that again. Or you could give me a hug. Okay, I'll give you a hug.
Okay.
Or you could not give me a hug. They're like, whatever it is, they get to express something that they need,
Yeah.
and then they feel heard, and you can see it. And we're all just big kids, so it works. The same framework works for adults as works for kids.
And that's where building that atmosphere, climate of trust comes in, because people aren't going to say that unless they feel that it's safe to say that. And it's with families and children and everything. You have to do that. The other thing too is you have to give up your expectation of, I'm going to say this and what's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things that could happen. They may love you. They may hate you. They may think about it. It may change their life. It could be they come up with a different idea or an iteration of what you were talking about. It opens a conversation, a dialogue, or maybe they never want to talk to you again.
Yeah.
That is not under your control. The timing is right. The way you express yourself, you speak your truth, and then your heart is right. That's all you got.
It's the serenity prayer, right?
Pardon?
It's the serenity prayer.
Yeah.
Grant me the wisdom to know the things I can control and to let go of the things I cannot.
Yeah. But people get into the situation. I have a friend who is having a situation with a family member, and she just can't believe that he's acting this way, and he won't talk to her about it. And I said, you can't make somebody do that. Maybe they will. Maybe you don't. See, again, you don't know how what you have said or your conversation that you had is it really impacted that person.
Yeah.
They may think about it for 6 months and then finally come, or something else will happen in their life and say, oh gosh, the second time I've heard that.
Yeah.
You just don't know, but you do your part. And the stress level, when you are able to do that, when you're able to speak your truth and you're able to have these conversations, it's life-changing. It was for me, because I don't have to be afraid to say what I have to say.
Yeah. Well, and like everything that we've been talking about today, and I mean, quite frankly, this comes up probably more than any other theme on this podcast, is these are skills. You got to hone them. You got to practice them. And you can build the skill of communication, of difficult communication, to be able to have better outcomes like you're talking about. It can be life-changing, but you have to work at it.
Yes. And you have to take your opportunities to do it. Yeah. I've read several articles from different people about AI coming in and just destroying the world and whatever. And interesting that there are three skills that will make you always employable. There'll always be a spot for you. And that is communication, relationship building, and strategic thinking, problem solving, those kinds of things. And that's just what we've been talking about today.
Yeah.
You can't replace that. And so these skills are so crucial, not just in your own life, but for your future, for being able to navigate in this world. Because those are the kinds of skills, especially for leaders, especially for managers, people who deal with employees and team members who are going through this. We're all going through this together, but to be able to open communication and let people say what, express themselves and not bottle up stuff. One thing when I was growing up, we had all these emotions, you had all those thoughts, but we just stuffed them somewhere. We just stuffed them. And that's the most dangerous thing that can happen, because either you blow up one day and let them have it, or it's internalized and it's stress and it's self-doubt and you're not taking care of yourself.
It's making a lot of therapists a lot of money right now, though.
Well, that's where I be a therapist. Yeah. That's true. And sometimes I feel like a therapist when I'm coaching or talking.
I mean, most of this is the same stuff. I mean, anytime you're working through anything difficult, whether with yourself or with somebody else, it's all the same stuff. It's thinking about your mindset and getting your beliefs right and communicating and articulating things the right way and working through challenge. I mean, it's all just human interaction. It's all the same. It's all flavors of the same thing.
Yeah. What makes it real is to, like you said, take a risk and do it. Yeah. That's what makes it real. Because you can read it all about it and everything, but to try it. I would encourage your audience to try it and see what happens. Small scale first. It builds your confidence. It really does. And it can just make a world of difference in your life.
Well, Mary, this has been a really fun conversation. I think that's a great place to wrap this up. I would encourage everyone to go try this stuff too. As we say all the time on here, you got to get your reps in. Go out there, get some reps in. Start with maybe not the most egregious conversation you need to have or wrong you need to write, but go out and start small and give it a try, and go check out Mary's book, Say It Now, Say It Right. And there you go, right there.
In Spanish. It's in Spanish also.
There you go.
Yes.
Muy bien.
Dilo bien.
Yeah. Muy bien. Great. Thank you all for listening. Mary, thank you for coming on. You've been a fantastic guest.
Thank you so much.
Every problem's a communication problem. So this stuff is invaluable.
Yeah. Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Hey folks, one last thing before you go. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to hit subscribe so you can stay up to date with future guests. That's it. Thanks for coming. Go make the most of your business and the people in it.